Hello, my name is Dennis Paulo Kavuma, and I'd like to welcome you to the launch of Gravitas Leadership Institute. We're here at the launch of Gravitas. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming, and it's going to be glorious, and it's part of our Dare to Dream series. Dare to dream, dream big, dream boldly. And the vision is, it is your vision, it is your purpose, it is your gravitas. Thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of our host this evening, who is none other than Mr. Dennis Paul Kavuma, who is going to be speaking to us at some point. For now, I just want to keep us at center stage. This is why we're here today. We are celebrating and also inaugurating a great idea, something that would easily be ignored by a generation that is so caught up in technology that they have forgotten to lead or to be led. You can't lead if you don't know how to be led. And how does what is leadership? These are some of the questions that are answered at the Gravitas Leadership Institute. And you cannot talk about leadership without talking about influence. You cannot talk about leadership without talking about your daily growth. A great man once said, great readers are great leaders. Creating a culture, a reading culture of people knowing and being knowledgeable about where they are and things that may not ordinarily be of interest to a layman, but you find yourself in a place where you're always seeking to know. And great leaders are great readers. Without further ado, I'd like to invite our very first person to speak here this evening. As the Protea staff is serving, there'll be, by the way, we have a couple of, if you want water, juice, we have teas and coffees, and later on we'll be served to something to bite on. Okay, so I'd like to take this opportunity to invite a gentleman from the Uganda Law Society. So the Deputy President of Uganda Law Society, Mr. Asimwe, or should I say Council Asimwe, to come and give us a few opening remarks, and also to give context to this event, given that our host is also a land friend, if I'm allowed to use that language here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together for Council Asimwe. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. My name is Asimwe Anthony, as introduced by Roger. I'm the Vice President of the Uganda Law Society. We call ourselves the Radical New Bar. I don't know if anyone has heard that. And I do bring you warm greetings from the Governing Council of the Radical New Bar, as well as the entire membership and the Secretariat, just across here, Acacia Avenue. For me, it's really a great honor and a privilege to be part of this, to stand before you this evening. For some of you have been following our, I call them shenanigans at the Uganda Law Society, and particularly for me, it's really a very interesting time. It's interesting times for me, and when I see leadership, you know, it's a Gravitas Leadership School. I think some of us are getting baptism of fire, learning on job, because on a daily basis you encounter situations you didn't anticipate. So it's really a demanding time for me particularly, but that notwithstanding, I felt this is a great opportunity to connect with people who have, you know, who think outside the box and think of the things that are, you know, particularly very important for this country. Now, I believe that this launch of the Gravitas Leadership Institute, which upon looking at the background and what the intentions are, is dedicated to shaping, empowering, and elevating young professionals into the leaders the nation desperately needs. I've always had statements which I actually do agree with from prominent people. I think I've heard Dr. Besije make this statement that the elite are the most useless people for many reasons. We will know how to criticize, we will know how to blame others, but then again, we do not take effort to participate in this thing called leadership. That is why the people who offer themselves are people you seemingly think are not supposed to be there, but the people have some kind of, literacy, some kind of civic education, choose to sit back. And it's really absurd because at the end of the day, as the nation grows, it is the leaders of the nation that determine where it actually goes. So if we do not take part, if this group of enlightened people does not choose to take part, and then we leave it to those we believe or we feel do not have the capacity, that's how we shall be measured. That's how all of us shall be rated. Now, I do believe that tonight marks more than just an unveiling of a leadership program. It's the birth of a movement committed to personal growth, professional excellence, and value-based leadership. Like I said, I took some time to look through the objectives, the goals, and the purpose. And wow, it's huge. Personally, I'm deeply inspired by the vision behind this institute. I wish I had also had the chance to go through such an institute before being in a position where I am today. Probably I would not have made some of the mistakes I'm making, but nonetheless, I think it's not too late for another person, including me, to benefit from this. Now, when I look at the fact that this institute is especially focusing on mentoring young people who aspire to join various professions, including the legal profession. So for me, the fact that there is this vision, there's this dedication for mentoring young people into leadership, the fact that they need to understand that at every level, you need to offer leadership, be it at work, be it in a home, be it, at every stage, you have to offer leadership. Leadership is one very important aspect that we've always skipped. I happen to also be a teacher, let me use the word teacher, at the law school. And I usually joke with colleagues and, I've met some of my students around here from the Law Development Center. There are certain things they will never teach you in this ordinary, our normal education system, regardless of the level. Yet they seem to be the most important things that shape who you become or who you are, regardless of the profession, regardless of where you're working. I often hear people say I'm a team leader back at my workplace. But when you listen to them, when you ask them about the leadership skills they have, there's actually zero. Simply because no one bothered to impart that knowledge and skill in them. And at the Law Society, we've taken keen interest, probably because of the nature of our work, or because of the mandate we have to play in society, the fact that our mandate goes beyond just offering legal representation, but also advising government and assisting members of the public. We've taken keen interest in ensuring that we have some of these initiatives like this one, especially for the young lawyers who are the majority. I think right now we have over 75% of the members of the bar are young lawyers. The senior lawyers are, the numbers are phasing out. And they like referring to them as Gen Zs, who do not have a direction and choose to do things their own way. We have, particularly through our own style of leadership, faced a backlash because of that failure to connect with the other generation. Because sometimes when you get up to speak or you question something, the way you've done it, it is not understood because of the way you're putting it across. Yet, the world is moving and evolving. So it's really important that we do take keen note of some of these initiatives like these ones, because again, at the end of the day, you're still the one offering leadership. You need to be looked at as a leader, regardless of the age, regardless of the times within which you're doing this. Now, I do not want to speak more about now I'm used to sharing with the young professionals in the legal field, but when I scan through the room today, and much as I know that part of the targeted groups are the young professionals, especially those who intend to join the legal profession, when I scan around the room, I see, different faces, different professionals, and people from different kinds of, walks of life. So I'll not structure. I'll avoid focusing on that. And I really focus on congratulating the minds behind this. It's not something that we should take for granted. I, again, am particularly grateful for one of the Institute's core values. I notice it's anchored in faith and spiritual integrity. Regardless of a person's faith, what I know is that in a world that often rushes ahead without a moral compass, it becomes dangerous. And for me, it's really refreshing to see an institution bold enough to place God at the center, at the forefront. Because again, it comes with values and imparting these values. We've sometimes seen things that happen. We've seen things our leaders do. And the first question is, do these guys, where's the morality? They are so immoral. Talk of things like corruption, people are given these positions and offices, and the things they do, the way they abuse their positions, goes back to make us think or begin questioning whether these people actually believe in God or have any kind of faith. Because at least we all know that's the beginning of each and every person's integrity and personal growth, even from childhood. It's interesting how I also do criminal practice, and they taught us, so we know that when you're, for example, dealing with a child, there are these people who call minors or children. If you're going to have this child give evidence in court, and the court has a question of whether this child actually will understand the nature, because it's best, we call it, it has a Latin word, it's called a voir dire. You conduct what you call a voir dire. There are some questions you need to first put to the child, so that court now determines whether this child will know the importance of telling the truth or not, or whether this child is capable of giving evidence. And the very first question we usually ask is which religion they profess, or whether they know God, or whether they know Allah. Then the next question will be, what happens if you lie, if you tell a lie? So if a child tells you it is okay, it is fine, you know this child is not capable. But the answer the child gives will, make even court determine or not that this child is actually capable of testifying. Why am I saying this? At that little age, at a young age, that is what we base on. That's what we use as the basis for even determining that this child understands. Actually, the other question would be, do you go to church? Or which church? Why do you go to pray? And the child will tell you. So that shows you how important faith is, and shows you how important this spiritual integrity is very necessary. And for the Institute to put it at the forefront, it's commendable. And I think we should commend them for that and clap for thinking that way. Again, I'm not very spiritual, but I also know that when you put God first, nothing is impossible. You definitely pull through. Now, as we embark on this journey of leadership, and for some of the young people out there, especially those who intend to join our profession, the legal profession where I come from, I want to leave all of you these thoughts. And, this is a thought that has carried so many leaders to places, or the thought that most of them have managed to go through uncertain moments. I've also used it a lot. I don't know if that's because of ambition, whether that's because of, where I think I should be as an individual. But I always tell these young people that if your dreams do not scare you, then they are not big enough. That's the mentorship phrase I've always used. And I'm sure you bear witness that all these faces I'm seeing in this room, the people who have managed being places they've been to is because they start by dreaming. And I always call upon people to dream boldly, move forward courageously, and give the best at whatever they do. Give the best with all your heart and leave the rest to God. Now, before I step down, I need to also speak about one very important thing called integrity. And I already talked about it. But there's this thing, the question we always ask that, what would you wish to be remembered for? What would you want people to say about you, or people to remember you for? Integrity is a very hard thing. And again, I always tell these young people that make sure even when you're alone, what you do when you're alone, in a room, when you're in a place alone, is something you'll not be scared of doing when you're seated in a public place. The moment you find yourself doing something that you would not do when there are many people watching you, then you know you're doing the wrong thing. That's a yardstick. And again, from also my personal story, it's about the choices we make. I usually get so many questions. As you're aware, the president of the Bar Association is not even in the country. He's in exile. The reason he's in exile is because of speaking out, standing your ground, and speak to power, regardless of what might happen, even when we know. But then again, I find myself at the center of a controversy where this is a democratically elected leader in office, and because of the situation he's facing, I am supposed to come out and say and declare, and because the president is not around, I'm now the one in charge. In fact, I'm now the president. And I'm confronted with this several times, approached by so many people, that what are you waiting for? This is what it should be. This is what the law says. But then again, the other question is, you have a membership of over 6,000 who went through the process, a democratic process, and chose their leader. I did not come in that position. I came as the vice president. But because of a situation where a few people are fighting battles, or they feel they are stepping on their toes, they don't want to be questioned, this person has to be taken out of circulation. And to seal it, I have to be used, so that the name completely disappears. So as a leader, what do you choose to do? So in most cases, you find yourself, like I said, I'm learning on job, in situations where over 10 people are giving you different pieces of advice. But then again, where do you get that sixth sense to make a proper choice, to make the right decision? Integrity and honesty. And I believe if we had the leaders who respect integrity, leaders who have integrity in this country, would be very far. Like I said, you're faced with situations and you need guidance. You don't even have any guidance from anywhere. Definitely sometimes you turn to God for guidance. But then the real you, the person in you, will come out at that stage, at that moment when you're being faced with serious challenges. So thank you for really coming up with this great initiative. I personally do encourage the young people to take part. And from what I saw, it doesn't matter at whatever level. This is something every young person in Uganda should look out for. These are the opportunities we should all encourage our children to take up. Even those ones who are at home, I usually refer to my daughter as assistant parent. Reason being, even when you're not there, because she's the oldest, you find she's the one trying to take charge of the home, including people who are older than her. So I refer to her as assistant parent. So I believe it has no really age limit. It has no limit at the level of education. Because, for the young professionals like lawyers, there are so many challenges they face. From law school, by the time they finish LDC, they come into practice. There's that lengthy journey, and we're always doing firefighting. Others have finished law school, they've not been able to enroll. Then there's also this very bad, situation where the unemployment level is at an abnormal rate, which you cannot even state clearly, because on a daily basis it's increasing. But then, how do we help ourselves and these young people through such trainings and through imparting such skills to ensure that they can manage their affairs or be able to go through these situations? So colleagues, I know very soon I'm almost becoming a politician. That's why I speak a lot. And I'll use the phrase which is most misused, that with those few words, allow me congratulate Gravitas Leadership Institute again, and I wish you a good evening, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You probably know him for talking more about the green world and green revolution, and also more recently about real estate. He talks about leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, the expression on his face speaks volumes. Dr. Edwin Musime, just come and say a few words. In light of leadership. Yes. That's the data I threw at you, so take it from there.
Wow. Okay. Disclaimer number one. How long do you want the few words to be? Because make no mistake, some of us are born ready to speak, so how many minutes? 2 3. Thank you very much. Firstly, allow me to congratulate, I call him my big brother. One of the things about Senior Counsel DPK, he's one of the people that mentored me into sharp suit dressing. I thought you'd clap your hands for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And allow me to congratulate you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all know that we are the cusp of a very interesting century, the 21st century, where now we all know that the Internet of Things and the AI revolution has fully taken charge. Now, the only key thing I want to leave behind for all of us is that in all corridors of conversations, 3 weeks ago I had an opportunity to attend ministerial roundtable for the African Union on housing finance. And I was speaking to the young people from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. And one of the challenges that the entire African continent faces is the challenge of the education system. And I know that all of us in this room, guilty as charged, we've had moments where we've had our discomforts with the education system that we went through. Now, institutions like Gravitas, and I've always told people under leadership that it's very important that we get to a point where we have to unlearn a number of many things. By the way, there's so much we have to unlearn to be able to relearn and adapt. So there are three concepts I always push to people. Number one is the equilibrium quotients, that when you look at our education system, by the way, when I talk about education system, I'm talking about two backgrounds. One, the schools we went to, then the school number two, which was the homes, and which are the homes. Okay? So the equilibrium quotient of the Africans, of the young Africans and the old Africans. Let me also correct something. When we talk of learning, please, Senior Counsel DPK, let's not limit it to just the young. I know it's important to focus on the young. I mean, Africa is home to 400 million young people. I know that that's very important to be tempted to focus just on the young people. But one of the things my old mentor always tells me, he's an American about 95 years old. He always tells me, son, learning never stops. You gotta keep learning. So I think for me, Gravitas, what I would say is let it not just be about the young people. If I was in a church, I would say amen to that. So, number two, the intellectual equilibrium, very important. Number three, of course, that's the adaptability equilibrium. Now, why do I mention about the older generation? Many of us have stepped into rooms where great leaders are speaking, and the language they're using, the culture, the corporate governance culture they are using, is really, it falls below the standards, and you're wondering, is this a father of somebody? Is this an uncle of somebody? So, Senior Counsel DPK, once again, in my brief words that I could say is that Gravitas Leadership Institute comes in at a time where leadership is greatly required to move Africa forward, not just in business alone or in governance alone, but even in church institutions. And right now we're talking about, he mentioned the youth unemployment rate. It's not just about the youth unemployment, but the unemployment rates across Africa and in Uganda. And I hope that Gravitas will also extend its boundaries and frontiers to the Ugandans, East Africans, and the diaspora at large. And Mr. MC, in my closing remarks, I would say that I think one of the most important statements I ever heard the Faneru leader say that stuck to my head is, and I want to leave it with you. I think once, 2 years ago or so Apostle Grace Lubega mentioned, I know I don't know whether he's there, but he said, and this is what I'll leave with you, and I hope the leadership team can write it somewhere, that history will be kind to us because we wrote it. Senior Counsel, Gravitas Leadership Institute, what you are doing, you're actually beginning a new chapter of history being written in our lives, not just for Uganda alone, but for East Africa, for Africa, and the global village. So I wish you all the best. I'll walk this journey with you whenever I'm called upon, and we believe in you. That's why we've gathered here. Can we celebrate this great gentleman one more time, please, with a better round of applause? Please, one more round of applause. One more round of applause. And to the young people in this room, let me first leave the older generation. To the young people in this room, like I always say, let's keep dreaming and let's not edit our dreams. Let's take Africa to the world. Let's take the kingdom to the world. God bless you all and God bless Uganda.
All protocol observed. Once again, I'd like to remind us why we're here. I'm sure you already know by now, Gravitas Leadership Institute. But then, we have not yet talked about the man behind it, the vision bearer, because leadership is really about the person who carries a vision. And the person who takes that vision and translates it into reality. I'll just give a little background for those of you who have just joined us, or I'm not sure whether we're streaming, but if we are, those who have just joined us online, I'll also like to share this with you. Just give a little background before I invite the next speaker. Okay, so many years ago, I will speak from a personal note and I'll mix it up a little bit into, of course, his professional career. So many years ago, in the early 90s, I was watching TV and there was this young, handsome gentleman who was on our screens. There was a television station called STV, and there was this CTV, I beg your pardon, CTV. And there was this well-spoken gentleman who, every time he read news, we were debating whether he's Ugandan, American. You know, in those days, you know anybody could be. And you're like, who is this guy? Did he just fly into the country and speak? Very polished, very, very, what do you call it? Very gravitas. I've looked for the words just disappeared, yes. And he inspired a lot of people to go into media. By the way, let me confess this today. I think you're one of the people who inspired me to get into media at that stage. Yeah. So, yeah, I finally said it. So, yes, he moved on and did a couple of things. He traveled and went to the United States, where he was the president of Uganda Community Organization in California from 2006 to 2007. He was vice president and legal advisor. Rotary Club of Chwafu Breeze. And when I talked about the television, I forgot to mention to you the CNN International Professional Program. So it's not just somebody who's talking about leadership, he also has that background. I'm sure the CNN will bear record here. Alumni of Fidelis Leadership Institute. He is also, beg your pardon, graduate. Well, I could go into the academic profile, and I just feel like all of it is on the website. So if I read it out again, I will be denying you the chance to visit. Please allow me to invite another dear friend and colleague, someone I've also admired a lot from a distance because of his very strong business acumen, and one of the very great influencers in the media industry. If you've heard of Simba Radio, and yes, so many other, it's a whole group of companies there. But when I talk about media, that is the area where I first connected with him, meeting him on different boards as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Agasekalala.
Thank you for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here to celebrate the launch of Gravitas Leadership Institute. When Dennis asked me to speak today, I accepted because the moment is larger than a new institution. It's a milestone, and it's in a remarkable journey of leadership, reinvention, and purpose. Dennis's journey. Those of us who have walked with Dennis know that Gravitas is not an idea that appeared yesterday. It's a result of decades of experience across continents and industries. Those were all mentioned earlier. It's a journey marked by perseverance, faith, and the courage to keep redefining oneself. Many of us watched him walk through the difficult journey of COVID-19 and emerged with a renewed clarity that Dennis reminds us that leadership is not about age or position, it's about service, resilience, and purpose. Even after 50, he continues to embrace new paths. That alone is leadership lesson for all of us. I asked him myself, why Gravitas? Gravitas was born from what Dennis observed firsthand, that our young people have dreams but often lack the tools to shape those dreams into strategy. He saw bright, ambitious students, primary, secondary, university, who had never been guided to think deeply about identity, purpose, or long-term vision. Gravitas Leadership Institute exists to close that gap. It aims to inspire the youth to dream boldly, to build personalized life strategies, teach leadership skills that prepare them to serve their communities,
encourage clarity of passion and meaningful goal setting, to foster self-awareness, confidence, and resilience, to provide practical tools for navigating obstacles, and to create a safe space where participants can grow, take risks, and become leaders Uganda desperately needs. The courses reflect this breadth of identity, purpose, personal branding, financial literacy, career guidance, AI literacy, and even life after 50. I believe we have an element of, or an aspect of leadership crisis. Not a shortage of leaders, but too many leaders who serve themselves rather than the people they lead. Uganda does not need more titles, it needs more servant leaders, leaders who are selfless. This is where Gravitas becomes a powerful instrument, or becomes a very powerful institution. A nation is built by men and women who lead with discipline, humility, responsibility, and vision. Young people trained to think strategically, to understand themselves, to face adversity, and to serve others. These are the leaders who transform society. From a business perspective, Gravitas will help, I hope, to produce a pipeline of resilient leaders, ready to innovate and solve problems, strategic thinkers who understand goal setting and execution, entrepreneurial young people who will start companies, strengthen supply chains, and bring fresh ideas into manufacturing. Digitally literate talent, including AI-ready professionals, which our economy increasingly requires. We hope that Gravitas will provide clear career direction, which is lacking, a confidence and practical tools, and a mindset of responsibility and community impact. And also the courage to dream. I mean, this has been spoken about here several times, and the discipline to work towards those dreams. Dennis's own life teaches us that purpose unfolds over time. Leadership is not a destination, it's a commitment to keep growing, learning, and serving. Gravitas is his contribution, a testament that true leadership is defined not by how far you go, but how many people you lift along the way. Today, Dennis invites all of us, invites Uganda, invites all of the people here, and indeed anyone at any life stage, to step into a purposeful journey, one anchored in faith, guided by strategy, and lived in service to others. As we launch Gravitas Leadership, I encourage all of us to support this vision. Uganda's next chapter will not be written by followers, but by those who chase titles. It will be written by selfless leaders who choose responsibility over comfort, service over status, and purpose over applause. Dennis, congratulations. Your journey continues to inspire us all, and Gravitas will inspire generations to come. Thank you, and a big round of applause for Dennis.
Let's give another round of applause to the chairman board, Uganda Manufacturers Association.
I feel not worthy to speak before experts and people who are professionals in this field, but I thought turning down an offer like that to a very good friend of mine would not be in order, especially when we all know what we are here for. So I apologize for, the ambush I've been given, but we all understand where I'm coming from. I've known Dennis since primary school. Can you believe it? And we've been friends. Even at such an early age, I knew there was something special about him. We were friends before we knew that our parents were related with the kingdom, because his grandfather was Paulo Kavuma, and he was a prime minister at the time of the kingdoms. Actually, he was a prime minister at the time when Sir Edward Ntesa was exiled first. Speaking of Paulo Kavuma, I have his auntie there. Could you stand up, Nyabo, for recognition? That's the daughter of Paulo Kavuma and Dennis's auntie. So my journey with Dennis has gone, goes way back through Europe, America, and we're still very close friends. And as one person I can say really knows me, and I think I know him. Anyway, fast track to the Gravitas Institute. Dennis is amazing. He keeps reinventing himself, and whatever he does, he excels at it. One thing I know for sure, that whatever he does it because of conviction and with passion. And I think that's one way to be successful at, when you're doing something what you love and you do it with passion. All of you who have seen Dennis in his social life, you know when he comes to Lingala or when he's come to dancing, he dances with passion. So whatever he does it with passion. So I'm sure he's going to pour his heart into this. All the previous speakers have talked tremendously well of the crisis of leadership in Uganda and Africa at large. So this institute is coming at a great time, and I personally would love to learn more, join this group, because as Pastor Tumsim has told us, learning never stops. And for us in Buganda and Uganda, we would want to be an example of good leadership at all levels. So we encourage young boys and girls to take leadership, even if it's at a dinner table and they're suggesting who is going to say the prayer. You volunteer first. That's the first sign of leadership. And we all know that we need leadership in our country badly. I was reading somewhere, someone was commenting about the difference between Dubai and Nigeria or Congo, and the difference, or the main difference between Nigeria and Dubai. Why am I even comparing Nigeria? The main difference with Dubai and Uganda is leadership. You find people, they're in a desert, they don't have a mineral, they don't have oil, they don't have nothing, and they are successful. Now you look at a country like Nigeria, Uganda, and Congo, the difference is leadership. Japan, they don't have minerals, they don't have oil. It's practically a moving island, but leadership. So, Dennis, your initiative is welcome. It's very welcome, and we'll do everything within our sphere to support. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to me. I'm sorry I was not very prepared for this, but God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Prince David Tituwasaja. The conversation today is centered around leadership, and you're going to hear a lot of speech in that line, in that regard. I'm a very big student of one Maxwell, who writes a lot about leadership. And there's this very popular book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I have seen, and I've taken time to look at each one of them at a time. And I realize that everybody who pursues or who seeks leadership should always measure themselves against that and benchmark their lives around that. But again, you need someone to supervise you or to walk the journey with you. And this is why institutions like this come up, to give direction, especially for a young generation that is now taken so much into being antisocial, especially with the technologies that we have available. I'm sure most of you are used now to being in a household where people can be on their phones, and they have to be reminded Some families, it is worse. They text each other for, say, dinner is served. And it goes in a WhatsApp group. So if we don't pay attention to leadership the way it should be, we'll miss out on a lot of things. Okay, our host, who is taking a cup of coffee right now, I'm going to interrupt that moment for you to come and address this congregation here. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together for Senior Counsel Dennis Paul Kavuma, also known as DPK.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do anything, I'd like to introduce to you, actually, I have another Jaja Helen Kawesa. I'd like to introduce you some special relatives of mine. This is Dr. Jane Kavuma Kayonga. This is, and both of them are twins. This is Sarah Bagalaliwo. She's a lawyer as well. She was among the first ones. You were commissioner in the East African Commission in Tanzania. Where's Jaja Helen? Kale, there's Jaja Helen. Come. Okay, all right, yes. And the reason I'm doing this, ladies and gentlemen, is that my relatives, and I do not do it deliberately, I forget to say, oh, my Jaja's here, my Senga's here. This is my Jaja, ladies and gentlemen. Jaja Helen on my maternal side. This is on my paternal side. And I think maybe Senga Jane would like to say something. Because the story, I have a story for the guests, which is about your father, the man in whose shoes I stepped in. So it's about him. So tell them a little bit about him. Thank you.
All protocol observed. Actually, I've been ambushed, but by my son or my father. So I'll have to take it as it is. You are all welcome to this function. I'm Jane Kavuma. I'm just asked to talk about my father. Dennis's father was my eldest brother, the first son of the late Paulo Kavuma, Neo Kavuma. And Paulo Neo Kavuma should be known by the old ones. He worked with that government, the colonial government for over 20 years. And he got there on merit from King's College, Budo. King's College, Budo, he was the best student at entrance and when he was leaving. So they wanted to retain him to be a teacher for staff development. But I'm sorry, he said, I don't want to be a teacher. So the colonial government somehow picked him up, and he worked for 20 years in that colonial government. But for him, he says there was no university at that time. So that's where he got his university education. He learned the soft skills we are trying to learn today, which are lacking in all of us. Simple things, communication, how to communicate with people, how to be humble, and how to be a role model. People should look at you, and they will just willingly do what you do. So that is our father. The later, after Mengo, after the crisis of 1953 to 55, when Sekabaka Mutesa was exiled, he left Mengo. But then after that, he chose to work for Uganda. So he was among those who started Coffee Marketing Board. That's why S.B. Lukwago's son is actually there. So that's where he worked, Coffee Marketing Board. From Coffee Marketing Board, he went on to become, he served in many organizations, YMCA, the Red Cross Society of Uganda, Actually, when we enter those buildings, we always find his photo somewhere. And Uganda Bible Society, YMCA, Mulago Hospital, Friends of Mulago Hospital. So he was actually a servant of the people. And later he became a mayor of Kampala City, the second African mayor after Serwano Kurubia. After that, he became a businessman. He would love beautiful things, so he sold cars. And don't be surprised that Dennis also loves to keep that image of being smart and beautiful things. That's where he got it from. And I think that's all you need to know about Paul Neo Kavuma, my father.
Thank you, Singer Jane. I hope from now on I won't be beaten up for forgetting to introduce you. Twin number 2, Jaja Helen, a quick word to our guests, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, our guests. It's an honor to be here. My name is Helen Nante Zakawesa, and I am Jaja to Dennis because I was an heir to his mother's mother. That's why I'm a Jaja. We are from the Fumbe clan. I don't know if there's anybody else. And the Fumbe clan talks about money. I think that's why Dennis likes making money. But you've made us very proud because of time and wish you the best. Let's take it further. And you have our blessings from the Mama's side. All will go well. And thank you all for being here today to celebrate this great day great evening with Dennis. I want to say, because when I speak, I don't stop. Thank you very much.
Judges, now you may sit. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Singer Jane. Ladies and gentlemen, Prince, all of you, all protocol observed, because if I start going into names and titles, remember something I said about leadership? Leadership is not about what? Exactly. So all protocol observed. I'm going to do something very different. Something different at the events, weddings, occasions like this that we normally attend. I'll do something different by first thanking each and every one of you for coming. All of you, the reason you're here, you're not here for nothing. And actually, I'll tell you a secret. You are selected to come here because you're going to be partners to Gravitas. At one point or another in the future, you'll be called upon. Prince Wasa just said he's willing to donate land to Gravitas. So we might as well thank you in advance for that. But on a more serious note, each one of you has played a key role in my life. From, you name it, Prince Wasa just said primary school, but to name it to starting work, professional work. Ambassador Bidig was here when we first when I was a pioneer. He was the pioneer of the first mobile telephone company in Uganda. That was a great dream. Celtel, yes, Celtel. He was the dream behind that. So that shows the power of dreaming. When I look back at that, and actually I've never told Mr. Ambassador Excellency this, that at the time, we're looking at nearly 30 years ago, if for any reason there was a chance to give the Ugandan employees or Ugandans at that time to allow them to buy shares in Celtel at the time, all of us in here would be very far. If at the time we could have bought shares, then Celtel turned to Zain, then it turned to Warid, and now it's turned to Airtel, worth billions of dollars. I wish we had done that. Same thing goes for MTN. But I guess at the time, we were not really interested. But the time has come now that for each and every business, each and every, perhaps you can say, engagement that we have with people concerning business, we need to look far ahead of our time. Yes, you have a dream, but how are you going to nurture that dream? How are you going to make it grow? What are you going to do to ensure that when you leave, that dream will still remain there? Anyhow, that was something about Celtel. So again, each and every one of you, in Uganda they say, Mulikaka kwate, on what I've been doing. But thank you for coming. Before I forget, I'd like to, first and foremost, appreciate Apostle Grace Ruega and his, for lack of a better word, and his, I'll become American for a while, and his drop-dead gorgeous wife. She's beautiful, she's talented, and who, by the way, happens to be my daughter. Nicolette, please stand up. My eldest daughter. And also my son-in-law. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I were to start to go through the list of things that those two have done for me to actually bring Gravitas Leadership Institute to get off its feet, I can take the whole day. They've done a lot. I'd really like to thank them. You know, they put everything together, the partnership together, to actually bring Gravitas to where it is. So, without them, really, this project, you know, would still be on the shelf gathering dust. They are the salt and engine of Gravitas Leadership Institute. That aside, so if they are the engine and the soul of the car, so I've just remembered something. I love cars very much, and yesterday I was telling a story. I was giving a presentation, and I'm sorry, but I have to say this, I have to go off a little bit. My first time to go to England, they used to have something called window 1, window 2 at the central bank. I'm sure 90% of you are aware of this. So you had to go and apply to the central bank to get your sterling pound, your dollars, for school fees, be it medication, anyhow. So my grandfather applied for fees when I was in England. Now, because I did not have any financial training, money management, how to handle money, so here I am, I'm 18 years old. They send nearly £5,000 onto my account, and I repeat, £5,000. I never handled money before. And what do? Yes, anyone? John, my friends? Huh? Ken, Prince? Yes. I bought myself a car. Now, I bought myself a car. But then, and the reason I'm telling this story is there's a lesson to learn. Some of us, like me, I'm a bit slow. I've been a slow learner, and I've been a second chance. I learn through mistakes. I learn by example. So what did I learn from this fiasco that happened to me? First of all, I was happy for nearly 2 months. And then the petrol issue started coming in. The money, the money that had been sent started running out. During those days, perhaps some of you are still young, but I think the 190 had come out, the Mercedes-Benz 190E, the small ones, you know, really fashionable. And to make it worse, the school I've been to, and this is again, parents, we're all parents and grandparents, we need to teach our children financial literacy and also to avoid peer pressure. The school I'd gone to, and I definitely they were all doing the same thing. They were sending them fees, but they were buying cars. Some people were buying BMWs, others big Mercedeses, and some Nigerians were Porsches and a Ferrari. So that is how, if children are not mentored, and this is something I was saying, our curriculum must have financial literacy factored in between. So petrol started running out. I started running out of money. Eventually, I dropped out of school. I dropped out of school, and then this is where my lessons begin. I got a job. My first job was a security guard. I worked as a security guard. Weekends, I was washing cars at King's Cross. And then I worked, by the way, I worked at a hotel by an Asian guy, and the reason I got the job was because I was Ugandan. He's one of the Viranis, I think Ambassador Birigwa, one of the Viranis, and this is surprisingly, they were chased from Uganda in 1972, and in the late 80s, they owned one of the biggest hotel chains in the UK. So they hired me to work in their hotel in Victoria as a bellboy and a baggage boy. So I used to carry bags of guests who would come in. Then I was moved to, laundry and making beds. Now, everything they ask me that, can you do this? I'll say, yeah, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. But then again, it boils down to what we were taught. Somebody here mentioned, I think probably the vice president or Wasaja, about the morals and the foundation that we teach our children in Uganda. I was very lucky to be brought up by my parents, my grandfather, and my aunties, who told me how to make your bed, wash your clothes, polish your shoes, and even iron. Now, who would have ever known that this would come in handy? I even got a job in a laundry shop to iron clothes. This is in the UK. Now, the only job I did not take was to work as a grave digger. I got that offer to work as a grave digger. I said, no, that was too much. But again, there was a lesson to learn, and that's the moral of the story. I learned something. I learned how to manage money. I learned how to be frugal. And UK, a lot of people say, that means you people who've been, especially the UK, America's okay, you're very stingy. We're not very stingy, but the UK teaches you to ration you be frugal with your funds. What does that mean? You buy 4 pints of milk, you say, that is for Monday, that is for Tuesday, that is for Wednesday, that is for Thursday. So if someone comes even if it's Prince who comes to your house uninvited, you tell them you come with your drink. You come with your drink. So a lot of people in the UK are used to that. If you're going to somebody's house, you go with your drink, you go with your sodas, you go with milk, you go with a loaf of bread. So it teaches you how to manage money, but by accident. Anyhow, I had to put that in. Again, I go back to thanking people. I'd like to really, there's no way I can show my appreciation to all of you. You've been there for me. I've learned a lot from you, from everyone here, from all this side, from Law Development Center to my vision interpreters. By the way, there's some people here who are, and Apostle will probably let you know, and Nicolette. There's some people, new friends I met. You can have a vision. I'll give you an example. I could be standing here. Let's say we're looking at the backdrop of Gravitas Leadership Institute. I see this Gravitas Leadership Institute. It's just a signage. Then someone else, Ambassador Birigwa or Musime or Robert Sebalu is running for MP for Machindi. I think you should do it again. Robert, are you going to run this time? So Robert or John or Richard. Where's Richard? Where's Richard Chikonyogo? He's gone? Okay. Now, they'll say that, no, Dennis. We don't see just a signage of Gravitas. We see a skyscraper. We see a mall. We see tennis courts. We see membership clubs. We see a housing estate. Ladies and gentlemen, that is vision. That is the kind of vision which Gravitas wants to train, teach our children, and teach ourselves at the same time. But I'd like to thank you for walking with me in this journey. From the people I sold this idea to, of course, Prince. I have friends like the travel buddies, you know, the Bakulu, the King's Delight, you know, the Celtel and MTN pioneers, you know, and also my new friends, the Rotarians. Can you believe it? I'm a member of a Rotarian group. I'm a vice president and legal advisor, but it's all about serving. It's all about serving. So all those people, I thank you for being in my life and for walking with me. And then there's a reason I asked my aunt to talk about my grandfather, Paulo Neil Kavuma. He achieved so many things, but before he got to the pinnacle of his career, which was being the Katikiro Buganda, he went through so many jobs. He did this, he did that. He worked for the colonial administration. Then for Buganda, he started off, I think, as Pokino, and then Sechi Bobo, and eventually he climbed the ladder to become Katikiro. What did that teach me as a young child, as a grandson, or all of us in the family? It taught me that you can rebrand at any time and reinvent yourself at any time in your life. You should always keep your dream alive. You should always have people around you who keep pushing you, who keep encouraging you, who keep, who pat you for each and every little success that you go through. They should be there to direct you in your life and to push you. I'm sure my grandfather had people like that, and that is what I learned from him. That is what I picked from him. Yes, I became his heir, and in his will, my Sengas will let you know, he said that I've picked Dennis to be my heir. Not because of anything, but I have a lot of faith in him and the things I've taught him. So he was my mentor, And one of the things he said that perhaps maybe that was the price for becoming his heir, that I must build a church. So Gravitas Leadership Institute is, I guess, a step towards building a church. So don't be surprised. The next time you see me, I would have rebranded and reinvented myself. And I'll be so don't be surprised. But again, the message is, no matter how old you are, no matter what circumstances you're in, I'm living proof that even at the age of 50, 55, you can go back and study something that has always been dear to your heart, something that you feel that you're going to settle down with. Nothing stops you. It is you. If I could go back and study law, go to LDC where it was so grueling, at my age, on one page you spend like 1 hour and your head is buzzing and you're taking those headache pills, headaches, but eventually you sail through. So nothing is impossible, ladies and gentlemen, nothing. Quickly, you've been asking yourselves, what are we here to do? You're probably asking why you're here. I told you, not only are you going to be partners, but you're going to be ambassadors of the Gravitas Leadership Institute. You're going to be ambassadors of this brand. You're going to be here, and you're going to start with your families. Yes, we are targeting young adults, young professionals, but Gravitas Leadership Institute has something for you, for ourselves. What is that? Most of you in this room are about my age, I think. Really? Okay, who's challenging me? We can do 20 press-ups. 20 press-ups. Anybody for 20 press-ups? Huh? Anyhow, so there is something for us. And what is that? Let's say a large percent of, or a certain percentage of you are nearing you're about to finish work or go into retirement. And normally what happens at retirement is companies you've worked for appreciate you by giving you a golden handshake. In Europe, I know America, when they give you a golden handshake, they give you a gold Rolex watch, and they give you a certain amount of money. And we're looking perhaps, $500,000, depending which company you're working for, or if you're working for one of the Fortune 500 companies. Ambassador Birigo here will tell us. But once we receive that money, the question is, what do you do with it? Have you planned what you're going to do after retirement? For those of you who are still employed, have you planned what you're going to do once you're given a big send-off? They've taken you to Sese Island, you've had a great time, and then the next week you don't have to go to work. No more suits, no more ties, no more free petrol, no more free lunches. Suddenly they take away the driver goes away, the car that you're used to goes away, the free petrol goes away. What are you going to do? So at Gravitas, we have a special package for each and every one of you who's about to retire. But what I can tell you is, right now, in our 50s, we need to learn to take advantage of the digital age. We need to embrace the digital age. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to take advantage of something called artificial intelligence. If you haven't heard of it, you can Google it. And it's on our website. Has anyone done the QR to go on our website? We actually encourage people, especially people in their 50s, to pay attention to artificial intelligence, AI. It can do a lot for you and bring in money for you. So I hope that, that sinks in. So, the story or conception of Gravitas, they've said it all, so I won't repeat it. But all I know is that today, Gravitas has been born. Today, Gravitas has aridwa. Thank you for being here to witness this, and also to let you know that our future plans are not only to, by the way, I do have partners, people behind me who've helped me, so it's not only Dennis. I shouldn't take the accolades. Our future plan, ladies and gentlemen, is to lay a foundation for Gravitas as a Leadership Institute. We're coming in as individuals, but at the end of the day, would like to leave something. We'll have to leave as an institution. What do I mean by that? I mean that our dream, and we're dreaming big. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody said you have to dream, your dream must actually shock you. So our dream is, for now, yes, we've started Gravitas Leadership Institute, but our dream is to start giving out diplomas, university certificates, and at the end of the day, to ensure that Gravitas Leadership Institute becomes Gravitas International University. That is our dream. Thank you for being abawagizi, and to some of you who thought I was delusional when I told you certain things, and I wasn't in circulation. Yes, things have changed. If you have a new dream and you have to climb bigger heights, you have to prepare. You have to train. So in a way, you have to take a sabbatical, you move away, and you train yourself for a new journey that you're taking on. Ladies and gentlemen, before I finish, I'd like us to thank God. Each and every one of us should thank God for everything God has done for us, because without God, nothing will be possible. And again, on that note, I'd like to thank I call them my COVID-19 busters. COVID-19 busters is a group which Prince Wasaja formed when I was tubes in my nostrils and whatever. I was away, but I was down with COVID. So he got a group of friends and relatives, and they got money together, and they paid for my entire bill when I was in hospital. I did not pay a single shilling. Can you believe? Nothing. So that's the power of friendship and also God's power. But I shan't bore you anymore, and the food is getting cold. But MC has said I should now do the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you our apostle, Grace Lubega, a man who has made this possible, my son-in-law, friend, confidant. He doesn't like accolades or BT, but they come. They come. Apostle, thank you. Okay.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, all protocol observed. I want to thank God for yet a wonderful evening, a milestone in the destiny of this wonderful man of God who is dreaming very big things. And I think a very powerful statement he said that I think should not leave us, that do not be afraid to evolve, do not be afraid to change, do not be afraid to take on something new because of age or any other circumstances. So that's a very strengthening thing. It really plants quite a lot in my spirit. We honor all of you who have come here today, our parents, Prince, my wife, first and last. When my daughters had their judge, I had a day, they also put on their clothes, but they respected protocol, so they didn't come in. But they're somewhere down there celebrating this day. So I want to congratulate you. We rarely forget to thank the MCs, so thank you. The cameramen and all the people who are serving in the back. I'm sure OHTY is very excited to have all of you here. In ancient Rome, a society was built on a handful of virtues. But there was one specific virtue that was considered the foundation of a true leader. And that was called gravitas. Of course, it's a word, yes, you can clap for that. It's a word often used and will be used through as long as this institute stands. But I'm certain that it's a word that is often misunderstood. For some, they think it only means firmness and seriousness. But in its true etymology, gravitas means weight. It means substance. The Bible tells us, for those of you who read the Bible, in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verses 7, it says that even things without life-giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped? He did not say how shall it be known which is the pipe. We're not talking about the title. We're talking about the substance that comes out of the instrument. And indeed here, Paul the Apostle is telling us that if the things without sound can give a distinction in sound, then living people should as well have their own distinctions. That's what separates your voice from the noises. But above all, that your distinction is not in the title that you hold. It's not in the position that you have in life. It's in what is piped or harped. And I believe this is the spirit of gravitas, substance. To understand this revelation, this wonderful term called gravitas, I once read a very interesting story, and I want to give you an example beyond the textbook. And this is an interesting book I read a couple of years ago. I think I've shared it with this wonderful friend of mine, called Flashes of Thought by Sheikh Al Maktoum bin Said. the ruler of United Arab Emirates? Yes. And I think the priest gave an example of that wonderful man. I was fascinated, and as he rightly said, captivated by how in 50 years a desert can become, the place everybody wants to go. So I took time to read that story, his book, studied the personality to understand the template, the principles, the patterns behind how certain men think. Now, a famous story is spoken about this gentleman that perfectly captures the spirit of this school. Years ago, during that massive expansion of Dubai's aviation infrastructure, Sheikh Mohammed called for a meeting with his chief engineers and the international consultants. And he had a very big dream, laid it down, a vision to build one of the biggest, one of the greatest, most opulent airports the world had ever seen. And in fact, I followed up with a documentary on YouTube. Some of you might want to look it up, please do. It will interest you, intrigue you. So when he laid down his vision, interestingly, he also set a specific date, a non-negotiable date, when this airport should be opened. The engineers, some of the best of minds in the world, looked at the plans. They ran the calculations, looked at the supply chains, the concrete curing times, the labor requirements, and they came back to him and told him, Your Highness, this is not possible. The physics of construction cannot allow it. We need at least an extra year from the time you have set. Sheikh Mohammed looks at them and said, I did not ask for a new calculation. I simply said that it must be done in the time it must be done. How to achieve it, I do not know how, but you must make it happen. The engineers leave the room, throw out their old rule book. They invented new workflows, worked in parallel shifts of 24 hours a day. The YouTube video shows the whole thing. They innovated, adopted, mutated according to the vision this wonderful man had. And on the exact date, exact time Sheikh Mohammed had set, the airport was opened. That is Gravitas. That is Gravitas. A manager manages resources, but a leader manages the future. The spirit that says it's possible and presses out of man the ability, the potential to be able to do even what they did not know they were capable of. The other day, I was watching the CEO of NVIDIA. And of course, the newer conversation now is data centers across the world. Now they've understood the power of data. And I think once I was watching one of the most successful billionaires in the United States, Kevin O'Leary or something like that. His son had told him, Father, invest in Tesla, invest in Tesla. And Kevin was very hesitant for quite some time, until one of his friends actually opens his eyes. The Tesla, that electronic car, there was really nothing special, spectacular about that specific car, really. Tesla was mining data. So people think that Tesla is an electric car, but actually it's a data mining company. Why? Because you are going to buy that car, register your profile in there. When you drive to a CVS to get medicine, it's going to record. It has cameras that you think are security features, but whoever enters that car, it has recorded who has entered. It will record the conversations that you will have. It will have opinions about your political leaders. It will have opinions about your favorite food, your favorite go-to places. It will have opinions on your opinions on marriage, raising children. All of that data fitting in an algorithm. Now by artificial intelligence, what he's provoking us to study, can arrange this in very informative and effective data, and there are people who are willing to pay millions and millions of dollars for it. So that's why he invested in this. Now I give that story again back to this conversation of NVIDIA. So people like Elon Musk, they've invested a lot in data centers, and they say that the time that you need to build a data center is approximately 3 years. And he's telling the Americans how behind of schedule they are, because the Chinese now can build the very data centers in a week. The Americans are still grappling with what kind of technology would build that kind of infrastructure in a week, when it would arguably take 3 years. Gravitas. The pressing together to get out that substance, to get out a weight in man, the things that faith can do, the possibilities that are hidden, tapped in there, but have never been gotten out. In fact, the Latin word education is educare, which means to mold without by going within. And I think that's the spirit and heart behind leadership, that we cannot only invest in just teaching people how to lead, but we must teach people who to be. How do they discover themselves? So when I had the opportunity to sit down with this wonderful vision bearer, sorry, I'll tell them. He came with books like this. He had very old books with notes this much. And he sat down and put them on the table and says, I have a dream. Bah. I said, how long have you been writing this? I don't know, but every time something comes in my head, I write. I thought to myself, my God, all of this is written, and there must be a language to interpret, extrapolate, translate. But it was humbling to know that all of this was coming out of one person. You least expect, he's this side, and you see him this side, and you're like, okay. So congratulations, man of God. And so to cross the T's and dot the I's and bring language to this and start now to, he's been through the process, that rigorous process of developing curriculum. It's been beautiful to see him and working with young people, some of whom are in this room today, and they push him, he pushes them. It's beautiful to see that bond between the old and young. It's building, it's curating something, and I really must congratulate you, sir, for what God is doing through you. So then I think the question is, because what is true leadership? I think that should be the question, because if somebody studies, he goes to law school, they become a lawyer, right? If they go to engineering school, they become an engineer. What do you become when? No, I think the question should not be what do you become. Who is the person who teaches or who prepares leaders? What name is that? What title do we give that? I think that's the question of the core philosophy behind what this should mean, not only to the generation that is old, but to the generation that is younger. Because leadership is not a soft skill. It's a hard discipline. It's something that tames a man from the core. It robs them of who they are and crushes their ego and molds them into something that I think is beyond themselves. And I think when I went deeply to really read, I felt that there are 3 things that I must emphasize in the core philosophy of what leadership should, because I've had very wonderful submissions on what leadership is, what it shouldn't be, especially with the African story. One time I was giving a speech in Harvard. Yeah, Harvard. So there is this leadership school, the African something department. So me and Vusi Tembekwayo were called to give a lecture on African leadership. And of course, the warped narrative that Africa's problem is leadership. And as I used to think the same years ago. But as I started to study the narratives that were not taught, again, because there was a mind that was trying to define how we thought from the media, the acts that were shaping and shifting our consciousnesses. There comes a time where a man has to break out of what seems to control. I think some call it a matrix of sort. and your brain now starts to hear what is not being said. It's like today when you're watching CNN, some of you, I believe, agree. When you're watching CNN, you want to hear what they're not telling you. You don't want to hear what they're saying. You want to read behind what is the Republicans thinking, what is the Democrats thinking, why are they speaking like this when Sky News Australia is speaking like this. So it's a beautiful thought, again, because our brains are wired to think to think behind the veil. So I take time to analyze and ask myself, is really is leadership an African problem? Because again, we have challenges. Some of you know that, not in Uganda, but across the world. And until one day I just discovered over time that leadership is not an African problem, or in Africa, leadership is not the problem, but rather that we were shaped to adapt to a template that was not originally designed from the core of who we were as Africans. So somebody brings democracy, you adopt it, but it's foreign. Now you're trying to adjust to become what you'll never become. And in trying to align yourself to what they call democracy, you find that the core of your foundation, the essence of who you are, the quintessential African is frustrated. And I think there's a big journey there. And again, I'm encouraged when I hear things like Gravitas Leadership Institute and the other institutes that are trying to give language to what leadership is from our context, bottom going up and then influencing the world as it should be. So I believe that this curriculum must not just be about strategy, economics, or public speaking, because these are tools. For instance, a hammer is a tool. You can use it to build a house, you can use it to break a skull, but it matters in whose hand it is, okay? It matters in whose hand it is. That a knife in the hand of a thief is a weapon, but in the hand of a surgeon, it can heal. I think we go to the layer of trying now to find out, discover who is a person, who is this individual, how do we mold them to become what they must become and change their world. I think that's the word. Leadership is not about being in charge, and I think somebody here said it. It's about taking care of those in charge. Somebody said here, I don't remember who, that it's about changing. I think it was he was seated this side. Mr. Sekalala. He's a chairman. I think, yes, he's behind there. He says something very profound, that it's about changing the lives of people. Very powerful. And that's the taking care. But two, also, vulnerability. Especially from a patriarchal community or society that we come from Africa. We were built to wear armors, okay? And the ability to own up to our mistakes, which is a problem in our leaders today, to say that this was an error, to say that this was a wrong course we took as a nation, we shouldn't have gone there. It's a society that teaches us to wear armors instead of taking them off. And I think that vulnerability that makes us human beings, to ask questions, to learn and unlearn, to be teachable even when you know so much, to be humble among those who know, because sometimes what you know is not the most important thing. Sometimes it's most important to listen to what they're speaking, because you need to first meet people where they are before you take them where you're going. It's a tough discipline, but it takes a whole line of vulnerability, it takes a whole line of humility. My wife is a teacher, she understands this most. Sometimes she comes and she's talking about these students she's fighting with and how she has to repeat over and over a concept that the child just doesn't seem to understand. The parent has paid fees, but they also have a fear that their child might fail and not make it in life because they can't adopt a simple concept. But then the humility of a teacher to repeat it over and over, not to be angry, and to go to the level of that child and think where they are thinking from. It takes a lot of vulnerability. But lastly, vision. Vision. I think O.H.T. Wakavuma mentioned it here. And I wrote that Vision is seeing the light when everyone else sees the dark. And I think that's what the Al Maktoum story teaches us. That where men see the impossible, are you able to see the possible? I have led a very successful ministry in this nation, and sincerely, in all humility, and not boastfully, God gave me more than I could ever ask. But to believe, to see what others don't see. And I don't know how to take everyone there, but to see what others don't see. I think for me it's the core of vision, because generically all of us can see. To some extent we can interpret things and translate them by whatever laws we ascribe to, but to go beyond that and be able to see something that other people are not able to see, and to believe that it's actually possible. And that is why it's hard to build a life of leadership without the reconciliation of faith. Praise the Lord Jesus. As I conclude, we are certain that there are going to be challenges ahead, because this institute is not a factory that will churn out CEOs, or that it's a conveyor belt that will give presidents. It's a place of friction. It's a place of hustling. It's a place of haggling. It's a place of tough negotiations. It's a place of pleading with people who need things that they actually do not know that they need. But we pray that may Gravitas Leadership Institute stand strong. May the people who come in contact with this dream and vision advantage and advance what's upon you. May God appoint people, not only in this country, but outside, to read what is in your heart. May Gravitas be a place of light whenever it goes, and may it be a guiding light, I believe, to the leadership conversations of the next generation. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are not just cutting a ribbon. We're making a covenant with the future, and some of us in this room commit to stand with this interesting and wonderful organization as long as it is here. Being the second youngest population in the world after Niger, Uganda, I believe the young people of our generation need this more than ever before. So the world is waiting for that wait, man of God. Congratulations. Congratulations. God bless you all.
One, two, 1, 2. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Apostle Grace Lubega. I think he has, I also totally understand why sometimes he does not say the magnitude of what he's leading and what he has brought to this nation. But if you don't mind, please allow me to just make mention of a few things. Right. Apostle Grace Lubega is a vision bearer of Phaneroo Ministries International, which celebrated 11 years this year. And in those 11 years, they've opened up branches called Manifest Centers that are over 740 as I speak right now. This is global. We're not just talking about Uganda. There are Manifest Centers in South Africa, in the US, in the Arab nations, East, West, North Africa. There are Manifest Centers everywhere, and the message has been very simple and very clear. When we're talking about leadership, I just thank God for the gift of Apostle Grace, who has been helping and supporting people to give birth to their visions. You can easily be holding a vision that just never comes to fruition. But this, his testimony is a very good one. And if you take time, maybe after this, as we're having the coffee and the dinner and all that, we'll post something there on the screen for you to have a look at Phaneroo Ministries International. I think I'll be robbing the moment if I do not invite Mrs. Nicolette Vega, who is here to just say a few words. Let's give a round of applause. Miss it.
All protocol observed. Thank you so much for being here. Please pardon me, I'm not going to say much because my voice is very well, but thank you so much for coming. Congratulations to Gravitas Leadership Institute. Congratulations, Daddy. The founder and the CEO is my father, Dennis Paulo Kavuma, aka DPK. And Daddy, I'm very proud of you. We're very, very proud of you. And this is just the beginning of great things. Yes. God bless you. We love you.
I'm delighted to stand next to Dennis. Dennis I see as a brother, a colleague, a friend. We've been in the trenches together. We've survived a lot of things together, and we are still running. This is a symbol of resilience and reinventing himself. So I am delighted he's coming back to share the knowledge, because when we began sharing knowledge before, especially about business, about communication, people thought, Banobaru gezi gezi. Now I see it's a whole crusade. Many people are coming out to help others just to communicate effectively, to do their business better, to share in the wisdom they've accumulated. Because one day, for sure, we shall die, and all that wisdom is packed down there. So when you share it when you're alive, if you can write a book, you can share with the people, that's fantastic. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you.